Live.
And we are live.
And we are live. It used to
He's
be
been
Dex
practicing
sentence.
that.
It used to be
I,
Dex sentence. I waited for Dex to
100%.
start.
yeah,
Because always
Dara's
Dex,
after Bruce Buffer's job.
It's time.
he's on fire like the player on his jersey. He's on fire like the player on his jersey. We still have no viewers yet, but hopefully I just shared the links. Good afternoon, good evening, or maybe good morning, because from last week we discovered we have a great audience in the US on Spotify. So if you're listening to this recording on Spotify, hello, kudos to you. If you are from the Man United community or Irish community in the US, welcome to another episode of the Tricolor Reds, all the way from four corners in Ireland to discuss Manchester United. And we have the first viewer here watching. Please go say hi in the chat. Whoever
Welcome.
you are. Who's
Hello
that?
and welcome.
Go on, you good
Hello
thing.
and welcome. So tonight we have two main topics. It's not a game week since last week. We won't discuss the Brighton game yet. We'll discuss it next week. But today we have two great topics. We have the Champions League draw. We will discuss our group. Can we win Group A? And then we will make a funny prediction for all the groups who will go through for the two teams from each group. And then we will do a version of keep, sell, bench for the Manchester United players. Hopefully we close it in 30, 35 minutes, if not a little bit more. Before we jump into it, I am Khaled. I am talking to you from County Wicklow, exactly in Greystones, not too far from the Irish Sea. And four corners in Ireland, we've got Dara joining us from the land of the legend, Roy Keane, Cork. Dara, how are you doing? How are you doing tonight?
A bit tired from work, but is what it is. I'm happy to be here as always, though.
Amazing. All the way from Cork to Dundalk. Nigel, what's up for tonight?
Evening all. Yeah, not too bad. Looking forward to another episode of this.
Lovely.
It's definitely, I'm enjoying the first couple of weeks, and I hope all our viewers from wherever they're watching is enjoying it as much as I'm enjoying doing it.
Amazing. And then all the way to our senior member, the person who came up with the number, the person who came up with the name, the Tricolor Reds, Deck. And if you don't know, Deck is the biggest Martial fan here in the audience. So, Deck, good evening.
Yes, I love him so much. I can't wait to see him go.
Oh, Jay, come on.
That's straight to the point. We'll show Dara's jersey in a few seconds and we'll discuss. But so guys, straight to the point as we are used in the Tricolor Reds. Champions League, we are back. Champions League football is back. And we are playing FC Bayern or Bayern München, Copenhagen, and Galatasaray. Group A, Manchester United. I missed the Champions League anthem in the Old Trafford. Hopefully we're back. Hopefully we'll go through. A quick first level idea about the group, your thoughts, and then we will speak about the predictions and how tough it is to be facing Bayern, Copenhagen, Galatasaray. I've never visited an away game to either of them, but I know how tough it is considering the history with Bayern, considering the tough environment at Galatasaray. But Dek, I'm starting with you all the way. FC Bayern München, Copenhagen, Galatasaray, Champions League is back at Manchester United. Your feeling, your thoughts, and what do you think of the group?
I'm delighted it's back. Champions League nights in Old Trafford are unbelievable. They're a great occasion, and I've been lucky to be at. I've been at plenty of Champions League nights there, so I'm glad it's back. Group itself, it's not going to be easy, but we're Manchester United. We have to look to win the group. I don't think there's any point in us looking to come second. We have to get back to playing the way we can play. We shouldn't fear anyone. On our day, we can beat anyone. When everything is clicking, we're as good as anyone in that group. Munich, massive history with them in the competition. They're going to be a tough ask, but we've beaten them before. Most famous night in '99. So I mean, we have to look to win the group. The problem is when people see United coming, it's a draw for them. It's a draw for their fans as well. So they always up their game against Manchester United. But I'm looking forward to some good games. Looking forward to getting over to a few of the games in Old Trafford as well. for us to listen to that anthem because it really is brilliant. So yeah, looking forward to it. Delighted it's back.
Looking forward to it. I love Champions League football. I love the football at night in Old Trafford. It's just amazing. And Dara, I'll go here with you. And we spoke last week also about Hoyland and how he was active in the game, everything. So one of the opponents is Copenhagen. How do you see the group, and how do you see Hoyland going in and playing his own homeland and playing against his own team in the past anyway?
Well, truthfully, no, being honest, I won't lie. I had a quick scan through the group, and I was looking at, let's say, to see what each form was going into the group stages and how we could compare and contrast. I look at Copenhagen. You make the point, obviously, that Highland was the former Copenhagen player. He was like 17, 18. So I think going back to his hometown, his home club, will actually be one where he will thrive. Uh, at the biggest stage, at the biggest moment, whether he's playing at Old Trafford or whether he's playing in Copenhagen, he will make the effort and he will give it 100% as always. Going on the actual little bit of research I actually decided to do this morning ahead of this podcast, I looked at basically to see who played for Copenhagen, who played for Galatasaray, because we at the end of the day we don't know enough about them, but we know enough about Bayern Munich to make our statements there. The only real player I noted from the Copenhagen team that I would know off the top of my head was El Unezi, formerly of Southampton. Just going off of their results last season, they won, of course, the league and cup double in the Danish league. At the end of the day, unless you actually watch all European football week in, week out, you're not going to know truly how competitive the other leagues are by comparison. As things stand, though, they are top of the table by 2 points, I believe. I think it was. I could be wrong, but I think it was Brøndby, but not 100% certain as to who was behind them. But 7 games played, I think it was like 18 points, and the next team was on 16 anyway. Honestly, neither Copenhagen or Galatasaray I know enough about to comment as to their style of play or anything like that. But I was looking at who could line up for Galatasaray, and you kind of have to say they're more the dark horse of the group. And I'm not trying to put anything against Copenhagen or any other team in the group as a whole. But when you look at who they have at their disposal in most recent time over the last 2 seasons, they've signed Dries Mertens, they've signed Crystal Palace's Wilfred Zaha, they've signed Hakim Ziyech just there from Chelsea, and when on his day, he is a prolific striker in my opinion, Mauro Icardi. Despite his attitude problems, when you get the best of him, he actually is a great performance. So, like I said, I don't know much tactically about them, but at the end of the day, we know enough about Bayern to make our own judgment there. Jack makes a brilliant point. You have to be playing for first, but the way I see it is the Bundesliga, while it's been dominated predominantly by Bayern Munich, Dortmund obviously gave a run for their money last year, but the problem was Bayern didn't have a prolific number 9 after losing Lewandowski to Barcelona. The fact they scraped the Bundesliga for, what was it, the 10th, 11th year in a row without Lewandowski, without a prolific number 9. It's kind of scary to question what it's going to be like properly now. Like, obviously, we've kind of seen the aspect of what it's going to be like with Harry Kane in the team. But once Harry Kane gets comfortable in the environment that he's in, once he gets going, I think it'll just be like Tottenham, where he's scoring goals for fun. So, honestly, I will be very worried about playing Bayern Munich, whether it be at Old Trafford or in Munich itself. Obviously, I can't wait to see what the clubs are going to do in terms of the memorial of the 1958 air disaster, because I think I read something earlier that the two clubs were negotiating a best way to commemorate it when they were over in Munich the next week, I believe, when it's starting. So at the end of the day, I can't wait to see what they actually go ahead and do for the memorial. But I do fear Bayern. I'm not trying to put United down here. I would gladly take second and run because, as I said, Galatasaray are a dark horse. They could easily, if the results go everyone's way, they could end up putting us into the Europa League, which is not what we want ideally. But at the end of the day, I don't see anything wrong with Copenhagen taking it to a side or not.
I fully agree with you. And Galatasaray is a really hard team and really difficult stadium to play in. although we've seen European nights and Madrid, I remember they scored 6 there, and many easy games when you see the score, but it's a very difficult game. And
Mm.
I'm really curious also to see about the memorial in Munich or in München, how it will be between the clubs, how to relive that legacy of the Munich disaster
Mm.
that we have, and we have the Munich tunnel, we have anything, everything related to the club. So it's super important. And in my humble opinion, I believe it's a fair group. I believe Bayern is better than getting Madrid or Barcelona, or although it's difficult for the others. But when I look, for example, at what happened to Newcastle, and we'll speak about it with Paris Saint-Germain, Dortmund, and everything, I still okay. We were not at the same level with Newcastle, but I still believe also we are in a good group. We have good chances, and if we play our cards right in the two games against FC Bayern, we can be top of the group. We can
Mm.
be top of the group, and sometimes going second isn't that bad because you can avoid someone else coming from the other side. You never know if it's
Mm.
Madrid finishing second, if it's PSG finishing second. I'd be keen to take someone with less pressure in the round of 16, hopefully. But it's interesting to see. And tell me, you want to say something?
Oh no, no,
Matt?
I was just checking the comments, and in fairness, Liam actually makes a valid point here, saying that he would prefer second because in the scenario where some of the bigger teams obviously will finish first, it brings them to the potential bigger game for the knockout stages, which is at the end of the day. We saw how it went with
Yeah,
the game against Barcelona in Europa League. The atmosphere that it brought, and it was a pure. It felt like you could even feel it watching it on TV. That it was just a pure hostile environment, and it's something that the players will easily thrive on if they get the right attitude.
yeah. It was a great week beating Barcelona and then winning the Carabao Cup in the weekend. It was a great week that week
Mm.
with Europa League and Carabao Cup. And Nigel, here I'll go with you. What are your thoughts about the group? And an easy question to ask, but it's difficult to answer. Can we win the group? Can we be top of the group?
Well, first off, I want to comment that I am delighted that the Champions League is back because there's nothing like a European night, but particularly a Champions League night. And I have to just comment quickly. That was where the first night that myself and Dak met in person, and we went across the water for a match against Atalanta a couple of years ago. And a certain Mr. Ronaldo gave us some memories. Dak mightn't remember it so much, but that's for another reason, and a hat trick. So no, definitely, it's great to have the Champions League back. I do think I would have preferred if we could have got a home game first, just to
Yeah,
kick the ball, get the ball rolling. Because Bayern away, like I know obviously, it's going to be an extremely tough game, but I don't think Bayern are the force that they maybe once were, and I don't think we should fear them, particularly now that Ten Hag has got his players that he wanted. He wanted Amrabat, he wanted Rasmus. They're there now, and they've returned, hopefully, injuries, anything like that from the European adventure. And I will talk about Rasmus. Like, he is definitely an icon in Denmark. I've seen the way he celebrated, and like that he could literally do whatever he wanted in Denmark. He is the next big thing over there. But actually, just to go back to about our group, and I was doing a wee bit of research, a bit like Dara there, and I was surprised. I looked at it, and we've only played Bayern Munich 11 times in Europe, and we don't, to be honest, we don't have a great record. We've won two, we've drawn five, and they've got the better of us four times. And a few, like, again, I know we've already touched on that magic night in '99, but over the course of matches, we definitely owe them. And I think um, Galatasaray, again, another well-documented club that we have significant history with the Brian Robson incident when we went over there, and I don't think nobody expected to get the welcome to hell um, reception that they got. And I don't just think it's as ferocious over there as maybe it once was, but again, it's another very tough game. And the fact that they have significantly strengthened, as Dara has already commented, And the one obviously that we probably would know the most will be our own former Red Devil, Wilfred Zaha, who came to Old Trafford with high expectation, and unfortunately, similar to an awful lot of stories with other players like Depay and different things, has never really lived up to what we thought he could do. But
Yeah.
he got himself back on track, and if I'm honest, I was a little bit surprised that he took himself out of the Premiership and headed to Turkey. Because I do think there was also talk of him going to the Saudi leagues, so at least he's playing in a proper league, and that's no offense to the Saudi league, but
Mm.
at least it's a
Yeah.
competitive league, the
A
Turkish
high
league,
level league. Yeah.
and Copenhagen could be a bag of anything really. Like, I'm not going to comment on them too much because I truly don't know that much about their squad or that. But to answer what you said, it could be tight. I'm not sure now if over the course of the games, maybe top the grip. I do think it would possibly be Bayern and ourselves come through the group. I do think home obviously is key to the whole thing, because away to Turkey, that's going to be very, very tight. Next week, we all know, is opening up in Munich. That's going to be big. There's going to be an awful lot of focus, particularly say for Harry Kane himself, that
Yeah.
he could have ended up in Old Trafford. He's gone to Germany, and now that his potential should have been club, and now he's lining up against him in his for his new club. But no, I'm excited. So bring it on, because at the end of the day, we're Manchester United, and Europe is where we belong. Champions League is where we belong, and um, let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens, and not only in our group. And here I will take it to a more prediction slash fun conversation, and we'll go group by group. I'll give you the four names, and then let's go quickly between the four of us. Who would you predict to go to the next round? It will be stored on YouTube and Spotify, and then we'll come back and laugh about our predictions, and let's see if one of us will get it right for one of those dark horses. Nigel, you were speaking. I'll continue with you for so Group B. You got Sevilla, Arsenal, PSV, and Lens from France. Who do you think the two teams will go through?
Well, I definitely think Arsenal are a very, very. They're going in with great form and great confidence. Sevilla, they are the eternal underdogs. They probably get knocked out and go on and win the Europa, as they always do. And then Lens, and sorry, who was the fourth team?
PSV Eindhoven.
Oh, yeah, PSV. Yeah, again, another like a sleeping giant probably of football, but again, coming from a poorer league, I think, like standard wise, it's you think it has to be Arsenal. Sevilla comes through there.
All right. I would give a shorter answer. I would go Sevilla and Arsenal would go. Arsenal would go first. Sevilla would go second. Then let's see what Deck thinks. What do you think, Deck, about this group? Who would go through?
I'd actually agree with both of you. I think it's going to be Arsenal topping the group with Sevilla in second.
All right. Dara?
I have to be the awkward and
It's not
go for
like
the
yeah,
answer, don't I? I'll put my neck out here because while they've lost a couple of players from the team that finished second in League One, I think it'll be Arsenal and Lens to go through the group. I don't know why. I just have that feeling about Lens, and I'm not even just going off the preseason friendly because let's be honest, who can go off preseason friendlies? We beat
Yeah.
Arsenal 2-0 in the preseason friendly, and look what happened last or a couple of weeks ago. But like Sevilla belong in the Europa League. They have this routine of you make the Champions League, you go down to the Europa League, you win the Europa League, you go back to the Champions League. It's a continuous cycle, so I'm not going to be surprised if it happens again.
7 out of 7.
Casually,
Yeah.
but no PSV. I think if the whole Ruven situation at the end of last season didn't happen, if he was still at the helm of PSV, maybe. If they held on to goalie Gakpo, definitely they'd have a better chance. But of course, that happened back in January. We won't go past that. I think even going back that far, just going off of the little bit of Eredivisie I keep track of, PSV could have done a lot better in terms of the race for the title if they didn't let Gakpo go in the January window. But that's by the by. But no, I'm going to be the one to stick by Nico here. I'm going to say Arsenal second. Sorry, Arsenal first, Lens second, probably Sevilla third. But again, this will probably be clipped and we'll come back to that in no time.
All right, interesting. Group C is Napoli, Real Madrid, Braga, and Union Berlin. And Deck, I'll come back to you here. Reyes de Europa is there. Never seen Real Madrid leaving from the group phase, but what do you think?
Real Madrid first and Napoli second.
Okay.
That's what I'm going for.
Nigel?
It's hard to see past Real Madrid, Kings of Europe, Kings of the Champions League. And Napoli. Again, it's a great story for someone like Union Berlin, who have that's a huge story over there, and the way they were running stuff like that. And Braga, I'm not that familiar with about them, and they're probably punching above their weight a little bit to be in the group stages. They're probably just happy to be there. And it'll be between those two to see who's going to take the Europa League spot, because them 2 games against them will be key. But it's hard to see past Real Madrid top in the group with Jude Bellingham now, who's really be in his pump.
He's on fire, Bellingham. You know what? I'm putting it different here. I'll put my money on Madrid and Union Berlin to go through. Napoli's going to Europa League.
Oof.
Union Berlin has a player from Tunisia, so I'll be supporting them because he plays for our
national. You're biased. You're biased.
So yeah, I'm here different. Real Madrid first, Berlin second, Napoli 3, and Braga 4. And Dara, what do you think
of this?
No, I'm going to be the one that sticks with the two lads. It'll have to be Real Madrid and Napoli, but I'm confident of just the way Union Berlin. I do feel that they'll give either Napoli or Real Madrid a shock. I just couldn't tell you which one they'll give a shock or what way it'll make the table turn as a result. But I do feel Union Berlin should get the Europa League spot, and that's nothing on Braga. I wouldn't know much about them personally, but it's just seeing the rise of Union Berlin. They kind of have to continue on that momentum, and I do feel, even if it means dropping back into the Europa League from the group stage, it'll still be a good story nonetheless.
All right. I hope it will be a good story also on the other side for Group D, because you've got Benfica, Inter, Salzburg, Real Sociedad. It's very unbalanced as I see it. You've got two teams with a lot of experience in the Champions League, Benfica, Inter, but then Salzburg and Real Sociedad. We've played Real Sociedad in the Europa League, or no, was the Europa League group phase when they beat us 1-0 in Old Trafford.
I was there last year. It was Europa League.
Europa League, yeah, exactly. So Benfica, Inter, Salzburg, Sociedad. I'll go on easy one here. I'll start Inter first, Benfica second. They'll go through. Deck, what do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to see past the two of them, Inter and Benfica. I mean, every so often we get a bit of a shock in the Champions League with the team coming through, but they have that European pedigree. So yeah, I'll probably stick with them myself.
Okay. Nigel? In a short
I'm going to put that among the pigeons here a little bit. I do think Inter will go through, but I'm going to say possibly Real Sociedad. I think sort of that Basque bit of fire there. I think that could be a tough visit for any of those three teams. So yeah, I'm going to say Inter and Real Sociedad will take up two there.
That's interesting, Dara.
Because it is a bit more of a level, a bit more level there. I think. So just not to be predictable.
I won't lie. I was about to make the point that I have all the group stages here on my phone here next to me, so I'm just looking at each of the groups until we come to a group a small bit further down the line. This is the only group I feel you can't really make as to who goes where, because like you could say who will go past the knockout stages, but you can't predict whether they're going to be first or second, because all four of them could make the knockout stages. All of them could be a risk of falling into Europa League. Anything can happen in that group, because until we come down to the proper group of death. This would be the B team group of death, if you want to call it that way. Truthfully, though, Inter Inter have lost their solid goalkeeper in Andrea Onana to us. Benfica have lost their prolific number 9 in Gonzalo Ramos to PSG. Will those make a difference? I obviously don't watch enough of the Portuguese league to know any better. Syria, you kind of watch it in and out. Inter should be making it through, but I if they can continue any bit of momentum, the turn outside in the Spanish teams and Real Sociedad could make it through. But you're more than likely going to see Benfica and Inter. But you want no, it wouldn't surprise me if Sociedad take the spot over Benfica. Being honest.
All right. Interesting to see. It's on the record, and let's see how it goes. And there's no betting advices if you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on Spotify. Just FYI. Group E is interesting, and there's a stadium in there that I want to see. I want to visit. It's Celtic Stadium. So we've got Celtic, Lazio, Atletico Madrid, and Feyenoord. Very balanced group in my opinion. Feyenoord is tough, Atletico Madrid is tough, Lazio is tough, and Celtic is tough. Dara, you were speaking last. I'll go back to you to go quicker. What do you think of this group? It's really balanced. I'll just have a think while you speak about my predictions, but I'll start with you.
Honestly, if you had told me the group would have been, or Man United's group would have been with Feyenoord and Celtic, I actually think Ten Hag and the boys would have thrived on that atmosphere more than where we're going. No, that's nothing. That's nothing against the likes of Copenhagen and Galatasaray. Welcome to hell. But I think, given Ten Hag's experience going to Feyenoord with Ajax, and then we all know what it's like from watching on TV anyway, we know what the experience of what it'd be like going to Celtic Park. And unfortunately, Atletico Madrid, not our greatest days in that stadium, given a couple of years ago. But as you made the point, a very tough team to go away to. Honestly, Atletico Madrid have to be the favourites to make it out of that group.
Yeah.
And then I have to put my money with Celtic. And I know it comes back to the bias, but at the end of the day, if you had told me the group stages were Feyenoord and Celtic, I would have been fighting anyone for a ticket against Celtic. Honestly, I would have been there with bells on, because as an Irishman, nothing would beat the idea of seeing Man United play Celtic in Old Trafford, or even going away to Celtic Park itself. What an atmosphere that would have been.
Yeah, it would be amazing. And Dec, what would you think about this?
Yeah, well, I've been lucky enough to see Celtic in Old Trafford, so it was unbelievable. Great game. In terms of the group, if I had to pick two, I'd be going Celtic and Atletico. I think any team going to Celtic Park is going to find it hard. They have special nights up there. I've watched a lot of their stuff. So it's a tight enough group. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see either of the other two teams snag second, It's very well-balanced group, but being put on the spot, I'll go with Atletico and Celtic.
Interesting. You stole my answer. I was thinking Atletico will be first. I'm cheering in a biased way for Celtic as someone in Ireland. And Nigel, I'll go to you. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything too controversial here. I do believe Atletico will top the group. I do think, again, Celtic's home matches will be key to what happens for them in this group, because the crowd up there is nearly like they've historically trying to say they've faced AC Milan there, and the likes of Maldini said they never felt intimidation of just the crowd. Like, it's nearly a 1-0 up for the crowd, and You Never Walk Alone, who they actually own that song, but not surprisingly, Liverpool ones stole that.
But the one we hear.
That's another story. But so like, it's again steeped in big history. First British club to win the Champions League in '67, and then we went 12 months later. But it's Atletico, and to be honest with you, it could really be any of the others. But I do think
Yeah.
the Celtic home games could be key to what happens to them. So yeah, I'll go at Madrid Celtic, I think.
All
I'm
right.
not.
It's a dream to go to a game in Celtic Park for me, really. And before after this group, then we will have to speak probably a bit longer about the group of death, as it's labeled. This is the group as expected: Paris Saint-Germain, Dortmund, AC Milan, Newcastle is back to Champions League after I forgot how many years. Toughest group they land in, and it's going to be super tight in this group and super different, I'm sure, in predictions. Deck, up to you. Starting, what do you think?
Ooh, I'm glad we didn't get this group because
Yeah.
that's probably the toughest group with a lot. Um, it's even hard to pick who's going to finish first in that.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I personally don't see Newcastle getting out of this group at all.
All right.
I think their first foray back into the Champions League is going to be pretty short for them. Um, I'd expect PSG to go through,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a toss-up then between Milan and Dortmund. I'd nearly go Milan.
Ooh,
Yeah,
interesting.
Milan. Yeah.
You know, my prediction will shock everyone in here, and I'll go last anyway. But Dara, I'm up to you.
If we might be on the same wavelength, because I'm actually looking at the way it's listed here. So you got, as it was drawn out of the group, PSG, Dortmund, Milan, Newcastle. In that order, that's how I'm predicting the group. I don't feel without, okay, fair enough. They've lost Messi and Neymar,
Neymar.
but PSG still have a strong team, and that's called spade spade. They're doing a Bayern on it. They're kind of monopolizing the league on, as I would call it, because anytime there's a standout star from a team in the Bundesliga, 9 times out of 10 it's either Dortmund or Bayern Munich picking him up in the summer transfer window. PSG have done the same over the last couple of years in the league on. So with the strength of their team and the balance that they might have brought by losing Neymar and Messi, I do feel their team might actually be a bit stronger. Of course, we have the opinions on Mbappe's control, would you nearly say,
Yeah.
of the behind the scenes side of PSG. But I kind of have to come out and say this now. Newcastle fans, they played up the big one when they got to the final against Man United in the Carabao Cup, and they gave it the big one, and they lost the final. So when I saw that they got the hardest possible group, I was delighted. I could not have been more delighted to see the look on fans' faces when I was there. Like, yes, you come back after so many years and you're gonna get trashed every game. No, I might be coming back to bite those words, but I don't care. The way that the fans came up with the big one saying, "Oh yes, we made the Champions League. We're back in the big time. We're back where we belong," and I'm there like, you get landed with that group. You deserve everything that comes towards you when you say something like that. But no, I'll give Newcastle credit. The way they're playing right now, it's actually very well tactically. For for what they have in Saudi money, or sorry, in Saudi Arabian money, they're not going crazy, but they're spending like Chelsea have with Todd Bowley. They're actually being smart. They're being strategic. They're actually bringing in the players that Eddie Howe actually wants. They're bringing the players that want to play for Newcastle, not just for the
Yeah.
money. So, like, maybe okay, we'll give it a couple of years. Eddie Howe might be after being boosted out, and you get this big name manager, because like we're kind of seeing the merging of it with someone like as big as Sandro Tonali coming straight into that Newcastle team, and it'll be interesting watching that interaction with Milan in the San Siro, playing against them. When, let's be honest, if one for the whole Maldini scenario, we would have never anticipated Tonali leaving. He was primed up to be the next Maldini in terms of longevity at the club and playing for the rest of his career there. So everything that's kind of gone around the club, you might make a case to see Milan possibly be the wooden spoon team, and Newcastle potentially dropping into the Europa League. But honestly, I'm sticking with my gut here. PSG, Dortmund, Milan, Newcastle, and I'm sticking with that.
Nigel, would you agree? Would you see it differently before I shock everyone with my prediction?
It really, really like for Newcastle fans, it's a dream group in terms of away days and things like that, like Borussia Dortmund, Milan, and then over to France. But the only way they get out of that group, I think, is on the PlayStation. I don't think they have the quality to actually know. And like again, a bit like what Dara said, it was nice to see that this didn't go out and buy all the big names just because they could. And Eddie Howe had a bit of a philosophy, but I think they've been found out a little bit too that, and again, they're punching above their weight. When you look at, again, your traditional Champions League teams out of England, say Chelsea, who have an absolute galactico of stars, and they're staying at home next Tuesday and Wednesday night. They're not going anywhere, which is, I actually prefer that rather than Newcastle, because I do think, again, another club that deserve the big nights. They're probably they probably can't believe the group that they've got drawn into, but they can't believe it because they know they're never going to get out of it. But yeah, it's hard to see any team that has Kylian Mbappe. That just answers itself there. And I think PSG will get through the group. They won't go the distance because they don't have that. They don't have that just that last step in them. I just don't
All right.
think. But
Let me shock everyone
Borussia,
with my prediction then.
Borussia, I think like Milan have strengthened too over the summer, and they have picked up some quality players. So yeah, I'm just going to go with PSG and Milan, Borussia to the Europa, and
All right.
Newcastle
All
topping
right.
up PlayStation credit.
All right. Let me shock everyone then with my prediction. And when I say let me shock everyone, if you're thinking that I'm putting Newcastle going through, no, you're wrong. Newcastle will be trashed and they're finishing fourth. They concede 10 to 12 goals, in my opinion. Videos here, and then let's see. But I believe it will be Dortmund and Milan. PSG out to Europa League. I just don't see that depth of the Champions League experience. Although, okay, they have the players, but it's in a mess. The club is in a mess. I I see the away games for PSG not well in San Siro, in Dortmund, in Germany. It won't go well. My feeling for PSG, the experience of away games for PSG in Champions League have been always the problem. They lost to Madrid. They lost the big games when you need the players. Even when you had Messi and Neymar, you didn't. So my gut tells me that it will be Dortmund and Milan, and then PSG to the Europa League to fight with Sevilla over there for the final, and then Newcastle will go home and focus on Carabao Cup, Premier League, and whatever they're playing with. But tough times for Newcastle. And if they manage to make it, I don't know. Maybe we live in a PlayStation world, as Nigel said. I don't know. Okay, time is running up. Quickly, the Noisy Neighbors group, Noisy Neighbors, Leipzig. I'm not sure if I pronounced this correct. Crvena Zvezda, if I'm pronouncing correct, and Young Boys from Switzerland. Where do you see this deck? I'm starting with you. Noisy Neighbors, Leipzig, and Crvena Zvezda and Young Boys.
I would think, unfortunately, the Noisy Neighbours will go through, and Leipzig. They're my two picks.
Interesting. Dara, in a quick 5 seconds.
I have to agree. City and Leipzig. No other way of looking at that group because they've got the easiest group. Of course.
All right.
Typical.
Nigel, same 5 seconds quickly. Would you agree?
Say to be out by game week 3, Leipzig, and the North again just because based on Leipzig being there over the past few years, I think, and they have the experience.
Interesting. And then before we go to the last part of going through the squad, last group, Barcelona, Porto, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Antwerp. My prediction for Group G for Noisy Neighbors and Leipzig to go through in this group, it will be Barcelona and Porto. Dara, I'm starting with you quickly in a 5 seconds, nutshell.
Again, Barcelona should be going through. Porto should be going through, but the only of the other two teams that could provide a shock is Donetsk, because we know teams that go away to the Donetsk don't always have the best anticipation and always don't have the best results. So guaranteed Barcelona should go through given the momentum they have now. But no, it will be a dogfight in my opinion between Porto and Donetsk. But that's nothing against Antwerp.
They will play. They will play in Hamburg. By the way,
teams.
they will play in Hamburg. Their Champions League games in Germany, Donetsk.
Oh,
yeah, not gonna play in Ukraine still.
Situation.
Yeah,
I didn't know if it was clear or not, but even just the kind of team that they are anyway, they kind of bring a dogfight to most teams anyway. So even when they're not playing in Ukraine, they'll still give the same anticipation as if they were playing in Ukraine, you know.
Yeah. Nigel, last group.
Has to be Barca, and again a 50-50. No disrespect to Antwerp, but 50-50 between Porto, Shakhtar. I think having the Shakhtar play in a neutral ground, in a neutral country, will make a big factor, and Porto will capitalise on being able to play at home. And so I'm going to go Barca, Porto.
Deck, last group. I think it's. Would you agree Barca is going through okay, and then who's going with Barca?
I'd agree Barca are going through, and I'm going to actually change it and go with Shakhtar.
Okay, that's interesting. That's okay, and we'll see. We'll see, and that closes the Champions League draw, and we are at 41 minutes, so we'll try to go quickly for the next phase, and this now will be more interesting, but let's try to keep it short, although we can speak about it till tomorrow. We'll go one by one in the players. Easy game. Keep, bench, sell. We'll try to make it shorter in the answer, guys. Not a huge developed answer, but I'm starting with goalkeepers and Deck. You were speaking last. I go back to you. Andre Onana, Tom Heaton, Radek Vitek, and Altay Bayindir. So let's say Altay Bayindir is new. Okay, let's not include him. Onana is also new, but let's start from him. Between Onana, Heaton, and Vitek, keep, sell, bench. What do you think?
Well, we're going to have to keep Onana now anyway for the.
Yeah.
We've just got him, so he's proved himself. If I had to sell any of the goalkeepers, I'd probably sell Tom Heaton.
All right.
Yeah, I'd probably
bench Vitek. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. We'll probably go to defense and not just repeat ourselves between the four of us because there's more players. Dara, I'll give you only 3 players, and then I'll give another 3 to Nigel. So it's going to be hard, Dara. Okay.
Try me. Go on.
Lindelof, Maguire, Martinez.
You know, it's actually a lot easier in my head than it actually says because obviously you play Licha. It's a straight given.
Yeah.
You bench Lindelof because while he's a solid centre back, great servant to the club all the same. And get that man out of our club. Oh my god. Like people not to develop the answer here, but I have to make this point. People are on about the jibes that he got at the England Scotland game last night after that own goal. Great finish, by the way. But no, I'm not saying he deserves everything, but at the end of the day, he deserves some of it because at the end of the day, he had to move to West Ham on a silver platter where he'd be able to properly contest his England place rather than being given it every time by Gareth Southgate. But it had to be said that if he had taken the West Ham move and he still performed poorly, that's not on us anymore because he's gone from the club. Whereas he has the performances still. He's still going to be attached to the Man United name. And we know damn well he could have moved to the club, but he wanted more money. So if he would rather sit on the bench and take the money over actually contesting an England place which he actually wants to do, then that's on him. So simple answer: start Licha, bench Lindelof, and by no default get Maguire out of the club.
All right, Nigel, I'm giving you a tough one. Malacia, Varane, Diogo Dalot.
Terry Malacia, I think. Well, Varane, geez, he really did throw me something down. No, well, I think you have to keep Varane and you have to play him because just based on his experience all around and how he could probably benefit, like actually the boys around him, like Martinez and that. So yeah, so Varane is definitely will be my starting 11, and even though he's injury prone, I still think he's ju- he's he's vital to keep around. Dallo again, he's a bit hit and miss, but he offers. I do think he offers something. And Malacia hasn't. He came in initially last season and he hit the ground running, and he was like an excited teenager there at the start of the season. But he has fallen down the pecking order, and it's hard to see a way back for him. So if I have to go keep bench sell, I'm going to go Varane, Dallo, Malacia.
All right, interesting. We lost deck, but I'll give myself an easy one because here I
Of
see,
course, of course.
Ah, go
I
away.
see it's easy in the list. So I've got Luke Shaw, Wan Bissaka, Johnny Evans. So I'll sell Johnny Evans. I'll bench Wan Bissaka and start Luke Shaw. So easy, I'm the host of the podcast, so I'm giving myself something
Oh,
easy.
oh yeah, oh here we go.
You're
But
some. We're taking over next week, and you're just going to get all these dodgy questions.
No, 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 no. It was supposed to be deck, but I just because we lost him. But I'll give myself. I'll start with the midfielders because it's getting tougher. And deck, what you missed is that I gave myself an easy one. Shaw, Wan Bissaka, Johnny
Boy,
Evans.
believe me, I heard.
Yeah, yeah, and you didn't miss anything. And now it gets to the interesting part. And I'll start with a very, very tough one because it's in the order Bruno Fernandes, Christian Eriksen, and Casimiro. Oof, that should be
Ooh.
tough. And I will start here so you don't take over Nigel next week. So I will start Bruno. I'll start Bruno. I can't. I'll bench Casimiro, and unfortunately, I'll sell Ericsson, and that would be for me. But I want to challenge the three of you with this between these three in a very quick answer. Fernandes, Ericsson, Casimiro, deck. Start one, bench one, sell one.
Um, Fernandez keep, Casemiro bench, and sell Ericsson. Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
Dara.
have to.
I can't disagree with the format of play Bruno, bench Casemiro, and Seth Eriksson, but I had actually imagined this discussion would be going in a different format earlier. So I actually had written down here for myself. I would sell Eriksson only on the basis that you actually bring in someone a like for like player in terms of call me crazy, another Frankie De Jong scenario. Here we go again. But someone like Frankie De Jong, where he comes back and plays to the centre back, picks the ball up, plays the ball forward, kind of like the way Ericsson does now. That's the only way I see you replacing him. But like then again, that's probably why they brought him Mount. That's and kind of even in that way you bring in Amrabat for something like that. But again, who are we to know?
All right, Nigel. Tough one, no?
Yeah, no, it would have to be the same. Bruno as your captain has to, but Casemiro and then Ericsson. Unfortunately, and I did say this last week that we've probably got like Ericsson been very creative, but I think we've seen the best years out of him now, and so based on where you need to be building for the future, unfortunately, Ericsson has to go. Bruno is going to start, and Casemiro on the bench.
All right, and kudos to Aaron, our guys from Kildare Group, just joined us, and he wrote something on the chat about the Maguire topic when we were discussing it. And yes, I would agree, Aaron. And now I'll give you guys an easy one. And who do I give the easy one? Which one goes for easy? It will go to Dara because you give long answers. So for an easy one, you won't give long answers. So
Oh come on!
you, you've got Pelistri, Van de Beek, McTominay.
That's actually a tougher one that you actually anticipate. Oh god. Actually, no, I can make it out easier. Pelistri start, McTominay
Of
bench, Seldani.
All right, I would agree. And then the next one is quite interesting, and here I won't interfere because there's a Tunisian player in it. So you've got Anibal, Mason Mount, and Sofiane Amrabat, and Dek. I'm starting with you here.
I think I'm going to probably upset you then.
Yeah.
Because
Ooh.
Amrabat would be starting.
Yeah.
I'd be benching Mason Mount because he hasn't had his chance just yet. And unfortunately, I'd be selling Hannibal out of those three.
In an unbiased way, I would only agree. And Nigel, I'll just give you the same three players because we're going to forwards and the number 9 is coming, so I want to keep that for deck.
Oh,
Hannibal, Mount, and Amrabat. Who would be
um, without obviously Amrabat making his Old Trafford debut yet, which hopefully will happen this weekend. I'm going to say it because just from what I've seen from his Moroccan performances and with Fiorentina last year in the run up to the Europa League final where they were very unlucky. Mount, again, I think he was probably shouldn't give him the number 7. I think that's created unnecessary pressure on him. But I think, and then Hannibal, he's apart from having incredible hair, I don't know what. He's, I don't, but like again, when you see players going out on loan and returning back and still never really making any impact, and I know Pellistri went out last year, but he came back, and I believe he has more of a chance because I know I've sort of infected into a different group here where you were pairing them out, but Amrabat, Mount, Hannibal. So Amrabat plays, Mount bench. Good luck to Hannibal.
All right, interesting. And Dara, I think this is the moment where you reveal the name on your jersey before we go and speak about the forwards. Keep,
Explicit
sell,
warning.
I might up moving the screen here. 2 seconds. Deck's favorite player.
Yeah,
Martial.
the number 9. Deck, Martial, Rashford, Anthony in an explicit version. I mean that -18 tag, so I don't get banned off YouTube now.
Well, Martial gone. Should never wear the jersey again. Rashford has to start. Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah.
And Anthony will sort his things while we see how it goes on the bench.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But
All
definitely sell that number 9.
Yeah.
And burn that jersey, Dara.
Nigel, same question. Martial, Rashford, Anthony. I want you maybe to upset Deck and start Martial. I don't know. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't.
Even though Deck's down the other end of the country, I'm still very scared of him, so I can't really. I'm going to sing my Tony Marshall song 50 million, but no. No, it's Rashford. Rashford, there's no even question. Anthony, again, I don't want to really go into that because how our first 2 episodes have gone, but we'll just let things play out there. But and Tony Marshall, you'd be lucky if you get any money for him, to be honest. Yeah, no, so Rashford, Anthony on the bench, and Tony. So yeah.
All right, Dara, I'm giving you an Sancho, Garnacho, Hoyland.
Oh man,
tough, and I'll go with everyone here because it's super tense with Sancho now. I'm a big fan of Garnacho. We've seen Hoyland only for like 15-20 minutes, but I'm starting with you, Dara.
You really had to give me that one, didn't you? I just think off of what we're expecting, I think. See, we know what Garnacho offers. We know what Sancho offers. We don't know exactly what Hoyland will bring to the table. So I'm only going off the expectation of what we have from him. So because of just how he dominated the game in those 20 minutes that he played for United against Arsenal and how he changed the game dynamically, you kind of have to expect that from here on in of him because the game will set up to play in his favour. He'll drop back and he'll actually drop back and actually make an effect, unlike the man on the back of my jersey here. But he will drop back. He'll actually make an impact in the game. So I'm going to start Hoyland because of the fact we need a prolific number 9. We just kind of know what Garnacho offers right now off the bench by comparison to starting him. So it's more beneficial for the club if we were to bench him and play him as an impact sub. And by no fault of his own, because at the end of the day, I love Sancho and I really wish he would come good. But obviously, time will tell us what actually happens with his scenario with the club. We have to sell him in that scenario.
I think, in my opinion, we'd have to sell Sancho, get some cash, try to invest it in other parts of the team. Here, I'll surprise you. I'll start Garnacho and bench Hoyland, and of course, sell Sancho. I don't see any motivation anymore, at least in the past 2 weeks, and with everything that happened. But even if that didn't happen, I'd still sell Sancho, bench Hoyland, and start Garnacho. And Deck, I'll go to you before we close with Nigel. Deck,
Nigel. Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yes, you are, Dak. Well done.
Thought he said Nigel. Yeah, I'm probably going to start Garnacho because I'm a great fan of his. I just think he's brilliant. I'd obviously bench Highland and Sancho definitely for what he hasn't been doing for the club. He'd have to be sold.
All right. Nigel, last word before we close.
No, Garnacho is definitely a huge prospect. But from even though it's only a few minutes, I'm excited by Rasmus, and I think he could be the spark that we're like. But he actually need Garnacho on the pitch to fire in the balls for him. But I just change. I go Rasmus start, Garnacho bench, and I'm sorry to see the way things is going with Jadon Sancho. But I think he'd have to go.
All right. That was interesting, and that was an interesting episode. Almost 4 minutes to close the hour, but we'll close it here. Thank you for everyone. Either you joined us live, or you're listening to recording on Spotify, or you are watching the recording. Especially kudos to the big audience we have in India. Kudos from Ireland. And I know it's late now in India, but tomorrow it will be morning. We will have hopefully the viewers back. And kudos to the team, Nigel, Dara, and Deck, and the guys from Kildare, Aaron, Gist. And we lost Dara because of that laugh, it seems like.
Yeah.
He's
So,
gone
guys,
on a private. He's gone on a private stream to India himself. He's
all
gone.
right.
He's gone rogue on us.
He went already. Thank you very much. See you next week. Hopefully after a win Brighton, and we will debate in it and debate about the win against Brighton, hopefully, and talk to you next week, guys. Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, Deck, and Dara. He's gone already, but thank you, Dara.
Thanks a million, lads. I really enjoyed it. Another great episode.
Bye bye.
Wonder Reds.